Welcome back to the Tournament Center. I'm Randy Buehler here with Brian David Marshall. We just finished round 11 of Pro Tour Geneva. 4 rounds to go. I mean, all the matches count for one in the standings, but they just feel so much bigger right now.
You're so close. Everyone's just looking to get to that sweet spot in the tournament where you can draw, and not have to worry anymore. You know, there's a finish line that you cross at some point before the finish line for 5 or 6 players, and they're all fighting to get there right now. They're fighting for that security.
And meanwhile, pretty much everybody just wants to avoid loss number 4.
Absolutely.
At 3 losses, you should be clean in. 3 in a draw, you start to worry about it. Pretty much everybody just wants to avoid 4 losses.
And you even see them. 4 losses might get in.
There's a chance a 4 loss could sneak in. It's true. It'll happen sometimes. But I mean, even see people will quote records as, oh, what's your record? X and 3, X and 2, X 3 and 1.
Yeah.
Right? And it's not even the win; it's the losses.
Yeah.
That's the thing that matters. So you look at the way the standings has played out, and you know there's a bunch of players sitting on X and 3. Their backs against the wall. They've been making moves. The top of the standings is interesting. I think we start at the top of the standings. If you go to the first slide, very good feature match. Takuya Usawa, undefeated. He rattled off 10 wins in a row, but Jim Harold finally got him.
I don't know much about Jim Harold.
He won multiple Grand Prix way back in the late 90s. So he's sort of a Grand Prix name that, you know, a lot of people knew and never really had the breakout performance.
German player?
Yeah, exactly.
Is he part of this sort of rising crowd of German players?
I think he's the old guard at this point, honestly.
Really?
Well, I mean, Andre Muller's been around for a little while, too.
Yeah, Brucker's been around for a while.
Right. Those guys have been playing some great Magic. Now, Harold vaults himself into a tie for first. Harold and Usawa, both on 10 and 1, sitting in great shape with 4 rounds to go. The other guy at the top of the standings, now this is a match I know you were watching. If you go to the next slide, Kenji Tsumura.
He's been just dominant all day long. I watched Kenji Tsumura play Mike Cron, who's been sort of like all the Americans are. You know, I don't know if they all knew who Mike Cron was coming into the tournament.
He's
they all
got
know
the
who he is
USA next
right
to his
now.
name, though, yeah.
People are really cheering for him. Everyone's pulling for him. He's the Wisconsin grad. Turns out he practiced a little bit for this event with Bob. He said Bob showed up for one of the Wisconsin drafts. Bob Maher was almost coming here and didn't know what happened.
Oh, wow.
But Ron is the guy we talked about earlier. He likes black-white. Likes black-white Rebels.
Right.
Drafted that again this draft. And he's playing Kenji. And it was a really interesting match. There were a couple of really cool plays that happened that you see why these guys are so good. You wonder why these guys are on the top of the standings. You know, what's the difference between them and me? Me. And you watch them play, and it's just amazing. Kenji suspended in game 1, suspended in ephemeron in turn 2, and you have a sort of expectation of when that guy's going to hit you. And Mike Cron setting up his game. He's got Blight Speakers into Wrathby Trappers, and he's got an Aaron Doomsayer, and he's sort of diddling around with Kenji's guys, you know, keeping them at bay. And they go into the attack. They go into Declare Attackers, and before Declare Attackers, he taps Kenji's Morph, and Kenji just flips over Time Bender.
Oh, wow.
Removes the last 2 counters from Aaron Ephemeron and gets in for 4 damage. And that's 4 damage that Ron wasn't expecting, and honestly, the game came down to that 4 damage.
Wow.
Yeah, really, it was really close. You know, with Blake Speakers pinging away and Shadow Guys, and and it was just a great looking play. Something to really keep an eye out when you're doing a draft, when playing online when this comes on Magic Online in a couple weeks.
Okay.
It's something to keep an eye out for. Game 2 was also really interesting, where Hran came out early. He stalled on 4 mana, and he was kind of slow rolling Damnation.
Okay.
And all of Kenji's fatties are coming out. There's an Aaron Ephemeron hitting the board. There's some other fatty hitting the board, and then he makes Franken fatty. Spiketail Drakeling with Verdant Embrace. Now the Spiketail Drakeling had been there for a while, and Hran was waiting to get to 6 mana, so he could, get past the Damnation and pay the 2 for the Spiketail Drakeling. But now with Verdant Embrace on the board, he didn't care anymore if Kenji countered it or not.
He gets rid of the Verdant Embrace either way.
He had to get rid of the Verdant Embrace.
Sure.
And it was really interesting. And what I thought was fascinating was Kenji couldn't deal with the tappers and the little utility guys that were out there. He let Damnation resolve. Micron ended up taking the game, but it was just an interesting exchange. And in the third game, actually, the Time Bender Aaron Ephemeron trick into a tapper was the difference, along with Kenji sided in one telekinetic sliver. I mean, I think he had another sliver. He had a might sliver. But he sided in the telekinetic sliver so he could get sliver advantage. I mean, he could get tapper advantage.
Okay.
And he was going to lose.
That was the difference at the end of the
And
game.
it was the difference at the end of the game.
As soon as telekinetic sliver summoning sickness wore off, he was able to tap the tapper, actually got into one last hit with the ephemeron, and Kenji Sumuro picks up win number 10.
Yeah.
He's in the first place tie with Usawa and Harold. So the three of them, a match clear of the field, sitting at 10-1. The rookie of the year, Sebastian Thaler, is only is in fourth place.
Another
right
German
them.
player?
Sure. And now you look at the names that are in this thing, right? Sitting on 27 points, still with a loss to give, Johan Sadek.
So is this
Quentin
tournament
Martin.
taking place in Chicago? Because this quality of top 8 has only really taken place in Chicago.
It's true. It's true. You look at the, you want to talk about quality, look at the next slide. Here's a guy that's still hanging out. Rich Hohen has strung a couple of wins together. He's in the mob of players on X and 3. Hohen leading the way, but Olivier Ruel is still in that crowd in contention.
Oh, wow.
Frank Karsten is still in contention. Raphael Levy is still in contention. Rob Dougherty did get knocked out, but you've got Ben Rubin, Willie Edel, Katsuhiro Mori, and one guy who we haven't seen in a limited top 8. But if you go to the next slide, Osip Levidovic is hanging out in top 8 contention right now. Osip, top 8 of the first Pro Tour last year, hasn't put up a real result since then, but he's still got a loss to give. Osip on 9-2 would be in the top 8 if this ended right now. And now here's a guy who was so sick Thursday night at the player party. He went up to tournament manager Scott Larrabee and he said, I don't think I'm going to be able to play tomorrow. I just want my 2 points. When I wake up, I'll come in. And he woke up on time, was feeling a little better, jumped in the tournament, 9-2.
9-2. He gives credit for his draft strategy to Scott McCord, one of the New York players back in my neck of the woods.
So that's the story. 11 rounds in the books.
Way to go, Scott.
4 more to go. Gonna be fun. Yeah. Keep your eyes tuned. Keep your browser peeled to the Tournament Center. For Brian David Marshall, this is Randy Buehler. We'll talk to you more later.